Welcome to this week's episode of Friday Freebies, where we take a look at the best free tools for web designers. This week, we're going to take a look at a website that allows us to check various different aspects about our website, email, domain, and so on. Super useful when you want to check everything is in place or you want to identify potential problems and fix them before they become a problem. So the site we take a look at today is called Web Agency Hero. This has a range of really useful tools. Let's take a look at just some of them, but I would highly recommend you check these out for yourself and drop a comment down below if you've used this or if this is something you're going to use in the future. I'd love to know. Okay, so what do we have? We've got our quick scan, so we can drop a domain in here. Now, I'm going to use a temporary sample domain, so we're going to see various different things. This is not a live domain, but obviously you would use a live domain. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop in the domain we want to use and click on Run Scan. That's going to go through and check various different things like DNS, domain health. If you're using WordPress, you can check the health of WordPress and so on. And this is what it comes back with. Now, obviously, like I say, this is just a sample domain that's about InstaWP. So there's probably going to be various different things highlighted that could be done to harden this if it was a live site. But as you can see, domain information gives us some info there. It's just a sample test domain. So it's just spun up and just throw away. So don't worry about that. Then you've got your email DNS, you've got WordPress health, and you've got various other things here as well. So let's focus on the WordPress health thing to start off with. So this is going to tell us things that we really could do with Rectify and to help us secure and lock down WordPress in this example. So it tells us that WordPress version 7, so the version is exposed, so we want to probably fix that. Tells us we've got one outdated plugin. Again, we need to fix that. And also that we're using the standard WordPress login page. So now most good security plugins will allow you to do things like change the login page URL, hide or obfuscate things like the WordPress version. And obviously you do want to keep your plugins up to date. So having tools in place that help you do that is very useful, especially if you're running an agency or multiple websites. So there's a basic overview. Let's jump into the full WordPress report. But like I say, you've got health checks for your domain, your email, inbox, tester, DNS propagation. So if you are kind of moving or creating a new website and you have a new domain and you're waiting to find out if that DNS is propagating because the site just isn't showing up yet, the propagation DNS tools can be really useful to kind of keep an eye on that and see when things have actually filtered through. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the full WordPress report. That's going to go and ask me to confirm that I'm authorized. And I'm going to say, yep, let's do a fresh scan and click on check and let that go through now. Before we move on, let's take a moment to have a message from today's video sponsor, FastPixel. Do you want your website to load lightning fast with zero headaches? And FastPixel automatically compresses and delivers your images in next-gen formats like WebP and AVIF, resizing and serving them from a global CDN so they load instantly for every visitor. Plus, it handles caching, lazy loading, and cloud-powered performance optimization all in one WordPress plugin. No extra tools, no complex setup. Just faster images, faster pages, better SEO. Get FastPixel and supercharge your site speed today. More information in the description down below. So after a few moments, probably around about 30 seconds, you can see now we've got a much deeper dive into what's going on with our WordPress. So let's just close this down. And I would recommend if you start using this, do buy the developer a coffee or two because it helps keep resources like this absolutely free. But as you can see, we come down, it'll show us, right, okay, we've got some problems here. Red, obviously we want to sort of deal with those as urgency. Yellow are things we probably want to fix, and for best practice we probably would. And let's take a little look. So it tells us quick facts, the hosting, where it's coming from, where the HTTPS is active, and what security headers we're dealing with. And if we come down, there's our tech stack, tells us WordPress version 7. We can see the PHP version is hidden. So some of the things we've seen before in the brief scan, but now if we come down underneath, we can see there's a score breakdown, which will break down all the different things that we are good or bad at. Again, most good security or optimization plugins will handle an awful lot of this. Things like disabling XML-RPC and so on. Go through, make sure you correct these issues to give yourself the best chance of having a well-protected website. But here we go. What to fix? Protect your login page. The login to PHP is directly accessible with no additional protection. This is a primary target for brute force attacks even. Add rate limiting, two-factor authentication or IP restrictions. So it's telling you what you can do to bypass that problem. Same thing with XML-RPC. You want to disable it. But then you've got other things like block user enumeration, hide install PHP, adding HTTP security headers, and so on. So there's a lot of things on there. If you want help securing those, you can click on the link down below. Then we've got security headers. It gives us information about that. Sensitive file exposure, what is exposed and what is going to be hidden. This site will be deleted afterwards, so don't go messing about. And then you can see it gives us a really solid overview of all the things that are going on that we may not actually be fully aware of. So that in itself is useful if you're a WordPress user. But if you're not a WordPress user, there's still a lot of really useful tools here. Things like the domain inspector. This allows you to inspect the domain, checking out DNS, SSL status, and so on. So let's try something like Google. We'll hit analyze, let that go and analyze the site, checking the SSL status, backlinks, and so on, and that will then give us an overview of that domain. Again, if you've got a domain that maybe has a bad reputation and you want to see what's going on, this could be a useful tool to help you go through and dig a little bit deeper into what's going on to the underlying domain itself. There we go. Again, after a few moments, it comes back, it gives us loads of information, things to fix, things like DKIM signing and so on. So you can use this on any domain. Then you've got the email DNS checker. So if you are setting up your emails, especially if you want to do email marketing and you want to check out the reputation of a domain, or you want to just make sure everything is set up correctly, like your DKIM, SPF records, MX records, and so on, you can use that here and go and check that. Then you've got the email inbox tester. So if you want to see if your emails are actually landing, if you don't have a way of testing this, you can use this. So you basically copy this email, send an email to that address from your email server. That will come back and give you information about those results. And then finally, like I said, you've got the DNS propagation. So you can check against all the various different records like your CNAME, your MX records, your NS, or your name server records, and so on. Again, very useful to check. Make sure everything is propagated correctly and if everything is all working the way it should do. Or if you're finding it's propagated in part of the world and maybe where you are or where your client is, it's not showing up, check your DNS records and see if there's any kind of discrepancies between some of the servers where that's propagated correctly and some where it hasn't yet. Gives you just that extra bit of knowledge. I found things like this incredibly useful in the past when I'm changing things over things like Cloudflare and so on, so I can see how long until that DNS propagation is completed and then I can carry on working. But this is basically the Web Agency Hero website. A ton of really super useful, absolutely free tools. But if you use it and you get value from it, do support the developer by buying them a coffee or two, because it does help keep this kind of content online. There are costs involved in this, and I think we should support these kind of tools, developers, and platforms. But as always, all applicable links are in the description down below. Drop your comments and feedback if you've used this or other services. And if you've got any kind of cool tools you'd like to share with me that are absolutely free, let me know in the comment section as well. As always, my name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.